Hey everyone, Berserk here, and welcome to my prediction for the upcoming Battle Royale. This time we have Guts, the Black Swordsman from Berserk, and Wolverine, the vicious poster boy of the X-Men from Marvel. In this video, I'll go over what these two can do in combat, list off their stats, and then show off who I think will win this fight. Let's begin. First is Guts. Now I should give a quick warning, Berserk is not exactly for the faint of heart. If you don't like blood, gore, or pretty much anything that could go wrong in the world, or you just have an uneasy stomach, or both, I suggest turning off this video and watching something else. I'll give you 5 seconds to do so. Ready? Okay, let's do it. After a brutal war/massacre, Guts was found lying in a bloody corpse after being born from his deceased mother. Yeah, you see what I mean? Guts was then adopted by a band of mercenaries and was trained by their leader, Gambino, who is, and I don't exaggerate when I say this, one of the worst human beings in all of manga and anime history.
Hey Guts, why don't you use a smaller sword, one right for your size?
We don't carry any baby-sized swords for kids here anyway.
After Guts killed his first man at the age of 9, and then putting an end to Gambino, Guts became a lone mercenary and was recruited by the Band of the Hawk, a group of mercenaries led by the ambitious Griffith. Remember this name for later, just saying. This group was Guts' first taste of friendship in all his life, until one fateful day when they went up against a horde of demons and they all died. Except for Guts. Turns out these demons were summoned by Griffith himself, who was also turned into a demon and kept Guts captive and claimed ownership of his soul by burning his neck. Guts then went through the worst torture ever, and I do not exaggerate when saying this at all. But it's a bit too complicated and disturbing to discuss, so yeah, let's just move on from this ridiculous story to what he can do in combat. Guts doesn't have a lot of abilities on him, but his abilities can be summed up with a contagious disease known as the Batman effect. Essentially what this is a normal human in the fictional world that can accomplish superhuman feats. This obviously affected Batman, as it's who this is based on, but it also affected characters like Lara Croft from Tomb Raider, Nathan Drake from Uncharted, 90% of Batman's enemies, and Guts. And that sums up Guts' abilities. Now for his equipment, and this is where most of his stuff comes from. Guts has a pack of mini-bombs that can obliterate weaker demons, and he has a mechanical arm that holds a grappling hook, repeater crossbow, a hand cannon, and a small magnet in the palm of his hand, which helps him carry his humongous sword, the Dragon Slayer. This thing has been cutting things down for far too long to be considered a sword anymore. Now it's a heap of raw iron, and is one of the biggest swords I have ever seen. Well, maybe next to Cloud's Buster Sword. Maybe. This sword is also bathed in so much demonic blood that it somehow exists on both the physical and astral planes of existence. How that's possible? I don't know. Meaning it can slice through pretty much anything, even ghosts. And last but not least, he has one of the most dangerous pieces of equipment ever, the Berserker armor. This ignores pain and self-control and gives Guts a massive boost in strength and speed. And it also allows Guts to hit like a cannonball, but the force of the hit can break his own arm. But the armor then pins the bones and muscles back in place. Ew. And that's all of Guts' abilities. Now for his feats. Starting with strength. Guts' best records are shattering swords that can cut through large pillars, fighting off a guy that has 7 times the strength of an ordinary human, and fighting off and slaying demons that can burst through small buildings. This gives Guts a maximum of building level strength, aka the strength to topple buildings with pure strength and power, for those who are not aware. The average strength to destroy a small building is 0.005 tons of TNT, or 7,714 tons of force, and these demons can burst through more than just one small building. Next is speed. Guts consistently moves faster than the human eye can track, and in his Berserker armor he can dodge lightning. A lightning bolt strikes at 750 miles per hour, or Mach 0.9, meaning Guts in his Berserker armor can move at 90% the speed of sound. and even without the Berserker armor, you can move faster than about Mach 0.262, or roughly 26.2% speed of sound. Not too fast, but definitely superhuman. Next is durability, and man does Guts take a beating. We're talking about a guy who can take thousands of punches from a guy who obliterated a brick wall in just one punch. The average strength to bust down an average wall is about 5,000 joules, and Guts reportedly tanked 1,000 of them, aka 1,843 tons of force, which is roughly below small building level. If that wasn't impressive enough, there's more. This is Ogre, who threw an object so hard a building almost collapsed, and Guts blocked another projectile thrown by the same guy with no damage whatsoever. I think I've made my point. Next up is skill. Aside from dealing with absurd and disturbing events for all 24 years of his life, yes, literally all of his life, he has slaughtered hundreds to thousands of people in single nights, fought gods and demons leagues above him and still pulls off victory, and will literally not stop fighting until he dies. Good luck getting him to stop fighting by knocking him out or cutting off his limbs. He has the most willpower I've ever seen, which is honestly saying quite a lot. With that being said, for all this insane power and equipment, Guts is far from flawless and isn't unkillable at all. Honestly, aside from willpower, the only reason Guts is still alive is because of sheer dumb luck. Sure, some enemies he fights are below him, but most aren't, and he really only survives out of luck or unstoppable willpower. But easily his biggest weaknesses are, in fact, in his Berserker armor. This may increase his strength and speed, and pin his bones and muscles back in place, but there's a problem. The armor doesn't actually heal Guts, it just holds his body together. So say Guts is fighting in his armor and he somehow loses his arm, and the armor puts it back in place. Pretty cool, right? Well, here's the problem. If Guts takes the armor off, his arm is gonna fall off. It's not like he has a healing factor or anything. He's not invincible and the armor doesn't change that. But despite this, Guts is still a force to be reckoned with, and I wouldn't cross paths with him for even a second.
My sword has gotten very dull. However, it's 3 times as thick and does 3 times the damage of a normal sword. You'd better pray you die quickly, or this could be painful.
That's everything to be said about Guts. Now on to Wolverine. Before he was the poster boy of the X-Men, he was born in 1856 as James Howlett. James was a sick boy who was born with mutant powers, giving him animal-like senses and rapid healing. But when his father was murdered by Thomas Logan, James realized he had another mutant power, which was the ability to retract claws made of his own bones, which he then used to impale Thomas, who turned out to be his father. His actual father. Huh. Okay. Well, after whatever that madness was, James took on the name Logan to hide his identity and to blend in with his environment. Logan then used his new name and mutant abilities to fight for the US Army. He fought in both World Wars and Vietnam before joining Weapon X, a secret organization that gave Logan his famous alias, the Wolverine. But Weapon X had a different plan for Logan, and that plan eventually went to fruition at the cost of everyone's lives except Logan. This is Dr. Cornelius, who fused Logan's bones with a rare metal called adamantium, which I'll go more in depth to later. The experiment worked and Logan became the most vicious human being ever. The result? Logan went insane and slaughtered everyone at Weapon X. Yeah, good job Cornelius, you piece of crap. Well, after wandering the wilderness, Logan was discovered and recruited by the X-Men, who molded him into the poster boy we know today as the Wolverine. And that's Wolverine's story, now for his abilities. The experiments done to him by Weapon X gave him superhuman strength and speed, and his mutant genes that he was born with gave him animal senses and rapid healing. This guy can heal from gunshots, stab wounds, and complete skin incineration. The only way to bypass this healing is to drown him or to destroy his brain. Wolverine can also enter a violent berserker state called Berserker Rage, which loses all self-control and ignores all pain, and in return gives him enhanced speed and strength and turns into a mindless psychopath that slaughters everything in his wake. And that's pretty much his abilities. Now for his equipment. As I mentioned before, Wolverine's bones are infused with adamantium, a metal that's extremely tough and stable on a molecular level, basically meaning that it's one of the toughest metals in fictional history, and Wolverine's skeleton is completely made of it at this point. Now you may think that you could just be super precise and cut between the bones, but each bone is connected by some sort of chains that's also made of adamantium, so precision means nothing. In the non-canon Ultimate Comics, Wolverine was ripped apart by the Hulk, but in the canon Earth 616 comics, Hulk failed to do the same thing due to these chains. You just need to be insanely strong or have some extreme cosmic powers in order to break through this material. And the adamantium also got into his bone claws, which he uses to cut his foes down, and he never has to sharpen these things. That's pretty much his equipment. Now on to feats. Starting with strength, Wolverine is what is known as a Marvel street leveler, aka characters who seem normal but are far from it. Almost like the aforementioned Batman effect. Wolverine has tangled with and knocked out Spider-Man, pierced through characters like The Thing and Iron Man, and cut down doors that gave characters like Hercules and the Hulk trouble. See what I mean by far from human? And those doors were made of material that tied up and restricted Ghost Rider, just for comparison. In terms of speed, Wolverine has consistently moved faster than the human eye can see, fought on par with massively hypersonic characters like Spider-Man and Captain America, and tagged Speed Demon, who can move faster than the speed of sound. In terms of durability, Wolverine is tougher than most of the characters I've researched in the past. This guy has taken hits from the likes of the planet-level Hulk, the equally powerful Hulkbuster armor, and Herald-level characters like the mighty Thor. He's tanked hits from Wrecker, who KO'd Luke Cage, tanked hits from Spider-Man, and can't be cut up by the Silver Samurai because of his adamantium. If you recall from many different videos in the past, including Screwtack's death battle between the Silver Samurai and the Shredder, Silver Samurai's tachyon blade can cut through essentially everything, even ghosts. His healing factor is another story. Now as a side note, I should clear up something that people still have trouble understanding. Regeneration does not equal durability. Durability is the ability to withstand wear, pressure, or damage. Regeneration is the ability to heal from what your body isn't tough enough to take. You don't need regeneration if your body is tough enough to take what attacks you. As awesome as regeneration is, it doesn't change the fact that your body is damaged in the first place. And Wolverine is a huge example. His body isn't that tough, but he survives because of his skeleton. And his skin looks unharmed because it heals itself after the attack. If your body gets burned by a fire, but it can heal from burning wounds, it doesn't change the fact that your body still got burned in the first place. Regardless, Wolverine can heal from anything so long as his skeleton and brain are intact. He's been shot in the eye before, and had his healing factor turn off. I know that's confusing, but just roll with it. But he still got back up, wrecked the guy who shot him, and still healed his eye. Yeah, okay. Wolverine has been stated to have a better sense of smell than Daredevil, by Daredevil himself by the way, defeated Iron Fist in hand-to-hand, who has been stated as the greatest martial artist in the world, has fought on par with and impressed Captain America, and snuck up on characters like Iron Man and Nightcrawler, who has an artificial intelligence unit and super senses respectively. You'd think that Wolverine is unstoppable, and I certainly don't blame you for thinking that, but you'd also be thinking wrong. As I said, there are ways to get past the skeleton, but it just takes a tremendous amount of force to do so. And if you have certain abilities and plot decides to throw consistency out the window, then you can mess with his skeleton. But considering the only person to do that is Magneto, who is literally the master of magnetism, that's probably not going to play a factor here. As I said, Wolverine is so inconsistent that he makes Ghost Rider and the Punisher look consistent. And those two can fight on par with Herald level characters despite getting wrecked by those more suffering the Batman effect. Wolverine also has a huge temper problem, hence why the Berserker Rage even exists. But if you think that taking advantage of these weaknesses will get you an instant victory against a man like the Wolverine, you'd be sorely mistaken.
I'm the best there is at what I do, but what I do isn't very nice.
And that's everything noteworthy on these two characters. Now for my prediction. I think the winner of this Battle Royale will be Wolverine. This was not very hard for me to call. I pretty much knew that going into this that Wolverine was going to win, but I tried to make things work for Guts. Oh well, let's get into why I think Wolverine is going to win. Let's talk strength. Guts is around building level at best with the strength he has, but if you recall, Wolverine is around that level as well. So this category is relatively even, but because of that, we'll give this edge to Guts just to be generous. Next is speed. Guts can move faster than the eye can track and can dodge lightning. Pretty impressive stuff indeed, but nothing above Wolverine. Wolverine has also moved faster than the eye can track and can keep up with foes like Captain America, who have legit massively hypersonic feats. So the speed category goes to Wolverine to the point where it's blitz-worthy. Next is durability, and there's no comparison. Guts may be able to tank hits from foes that can destroy buildings, but adamantium is on a whole different level. This is a metal that can take hits from Thor's hammer, the Hulk's raw strength, hits from the Wrecker, and can't be cut apart by the Silver Samurai. The rest of the advantages are negligible, to be honest, but to sum it up, the rest are either equal or go to Wolverine, especially experience. Both have been fighting for almost their entire lives, so considering the age gap between the two makes it pretty obvious. So the categories these two are even in will go to Guts just for the sake of generosity. Now let's do something a bit interesting here. Most people give this to Wolverine because of his skeleton, but let's assume that his skeleton is not made of adamantium and is just regular bone. Now normally this would increase his healing power, but I'm going to ignore that just to give Guts as much of a chance as I possibly can. But unfortunately, this still doesn't give him the win. While he would gain the durability edge, he would still be way slower, way less experienced, less versatile, and the rest of them are pretty much equaled out. So while it'd be easier for Guts to kill Wolverine, he'd still have to get past the ferocity that this X-Man is. I didn't even cover the Berserker Rage yet, which is the exact same as Guts' Berserker armor in every single way. Both ignore pain, both lose self-control, both give them stat boosts, etc. Meaning that they cancel each other out and change nothing on how this fight goes. And don't forget, giving Guts the advantages in this fight were being generous, because at the very least those categories that I gave to him are actually even. Now for the big question. Can Guts actually cut through the adamantium skeleton that is Wolverine's skeleton? The answer is no. It's just taken too many hits from opponents that are far stronger than anything in Berserk. Now you may be thinking, but Dragon Slayer exists on the physical and astral planes of existence and can cut through ghosts. And you'd be thinking right, but you'd be forgetting something. Adamantium has resisted a blade with similar abilities. That's right, Silver Samurai's Tachyon Blade. It can also cut through anything, even ghosts, and is a much smaller blade, meaning it's more precise than Guts. So not only has adamantium survived hits from people who have strength feats that solo Berserk, but it's also resistant from blades with the same powers and are more or less precise than the Dragon Slayer. So no, it cannot cut through adamantium. With all that in mind, I'm almost positive that Wolverine will be the winner of this Battle Royale. Now that that's said and done, this video has come to a close. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you're excited for more. These are going to be another regular thing on my channel, so more will come in the future. And with that said, I'm going to end this off. So, that's all I have to say, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you all later.